Welcome. You've joined us for another deep dive. Today we're looking into something that could really make a difference in your work life.
Yeah, we're talking about mindfulness, specifically how it can boost your productivity and, just your general well-being at work.
Exactly. Think of it as a way for you to maybe get a bit of an edge, feel better about your work without sort of piling on more stress.
hmm And we've got some great sources to dig into with you. We're pulling from Wellness at NIH, an article called Boosting Productivity at Work, How Mindfulness Training Helps.
And also some insights from Knowledge at Wharton from their piece, how companies can instill mindfulness in the business workplace.
Both really solid sources.
Definitely. So our mission here really is to pull out the best bits, the most valuable insights to help you see how mindfulness isn't just like a buzzword.
Right, it's a practical tool, something you can actually use for personal growth, professional growth too.
Okay, so where do we start? Maybe with that connection between, well, how we feel and how much we get done.
That seems like the core of it, doesn't it? The Wellness at NIH research kicks off with the stat, happy employees. They tend to be around 12% more productive.
12%.
Yeah,
That's actually quite significant when you think about it across a whole team or company.
it really is. And mindfulness, you see, helps cultivate that calmer, more focused state. You're less reactive to stress.
Uh-huh.
And that positive feeling, it's not just nice to have. It actually frees up your mental bandwidth, allows you to problem solve better, finish tasks more efficiently, hence the productivity boost.
That makes total sense. It's like clearing the mental clutter, right? So you can actually focus. And they had another study mentioned there, didn't they, about salespeople.
Oh, yeah, the happier salespeople, they apparently sold 37% more.
37%. That's huge. It really underlines how your internal state directly affects your performance, your actual results at work.
Absolutely. It's almost like taking care of yourself is taking care of business in a way.
Yeah. Investing in well-being equals investing in success.
Exactly. The article really stresses that point employee health and business goals aren't separate things. They're like two sides of the same coin. The things that make you happier and more engaged, they were the very things that drive productivity.
And speaking of engagement,
Mm.
that Gallup study they mentioned, that one really jumped out at me.
The 200% one.
Yeah. Companies with highly engaged teams outperforming others by over 200%. It's staggering.
Yeah.
Makes you really think about how mindfulness plays into creating that kind of engagement.
Well, we'll definitely circle back to that specific link. But, companies have been trying for ages to find ways to support employees and get better results.
Right, it's the golden ticket, isn't it?
Kind of. And mindfulness training, as the NIH article points out, is becoming a really popular way to tackle both. It's seen as efficient, effective.
And probably more accessible now, too, right? With online options and apps.
Precisely. They highlight that online mobile training. It's just easier to roll out, often more cost-effective than, say, getting everyone together for in-person workshops all the time.
Convenience is key.
Definitely. And there's concrete data, too. That Etna study they cited, pretty compelling.
What'd that one find?
Well, they found mindfulness training boosted job effectiveness. Employees gained, on average, 62 minutes of productive time each week.
An extra hour a week.
Yeah.
Just from mindfulness training.
Basically, yeah. And Etna figured that was worth about $3,000 per employee per year. Think about what you could do with an extra focused hour every week.
That's a serious return on investment, both for the company and the individual, really. 62 minutes adds up fast.
It really does. And there was another interesting bit about people who identified as workaholics.
Oh, yeah. What happened with them?
Mindfulness training actually helped them reduce their working hours.
Without performance dropping.
Exactly. No drop in performance, which strongly suggests they just got way more efficient. They were getting the same amount done, or maybe even more in less time.
So it's not about working more. It's about working smarter, more focused.
That's the key takeaway. Quality over quantity of hours. And that quality hinges on focus, doesn't it? Minimizing distractions. Which brings us neatly to the science bit. How does mindfulness actually improve focus?
Okay, yeah, let's get into that. The NIH piece links productivity directly to better focus and fewer distractions. Seems obvious, but how does mindfulness make that happen?
Well, research shows meditation directly strengthens that ability to concentrate. There was one study using Headspace, the app.
I know that one.
After just 3 weeks, users showed a 14% increase in focus. and significantly less mind-wandering.
14% in 3 weeks. That's pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it's not just people saying they feel more focused, right? There's brain stuff happening.
Exactly. Neuroimaging studies. They show meditation actually decreases activity in the brain's default mode network, sometimes called the me center.
The me center.
Yeah, it's the part associated with like self-referential thoughts, daydreaming, mind-wandering, the stuff that pulls your attention away.
So meditation quiets that down.
It seems to, yeah. And more than that, consistent practice can actually build up the neural pathways responsible for concentration. Think of it like exercising a muscle.
Okay, so you're literally training your brain to stay on task. Less mental drifting.
Pretty much, you're strengthening those focus circuits.
That's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so focus is one big piece. What about sleep? That's another huge factor in productivity or lack thereof.
Oh, absolutely critical. The NIH article really hits on this. Lack of sleep costs big time in terms of productivity.
I bet. I know. I feel it when I haven't slept well.
We all do. They cited a study where 43% of sleep-deprived professionals admitted their work standards dropped, they couldn't focus, creativity suffered, projects took longer. Sound familiar?
Uh-huh. Painfully familiar sometimes. So it's this vicious cycle. Stress messes with sleep, then being tired makes you more stressed and less productive.
Exactly. So how does mindfulness break that cycle? Well, it helps trigger the relaxation response.
The relaxation response.
Yeah, it's basically the opposite of the stress response. It activates your parasympathetic nervous system, leading to the state of deep rest, physically and mentally.
Ah, okay. So it calms everything down.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it easier to actually switch off.
Precisely. Quiets the mental chatter, reduces that physical tension and alertness, so you can fall asleep faster, maybe stay asleep longer.
Makes sense. If your mind isn't racing, sleep comes easier. And they found evidence for this too.
Yeah, one study showed just 2 weeks of mindfulness training improved both sleep quality and duration.
2 weeks. That's encouraging. Not a huge time commitment for potentially much better sleep.
Right. And better sleep means less stress the next day, hopefully. But let's talk about stress directly. Work is a massive source of it for so many people.
Understatement of the year for some, I think.
Totally. The NIH article calls work a leading cause of adult stress. And it hits businesses hard too. Absenteeism, lost productivity. They estimate it costs around $300 billion a year.
$300 billion. Wow. That's a lot of stressed out people impacting the bottom line.
It really is. So how does mindfulness help buffer against all that workplace stress?
Yeah, what's the mechanism there?
Well, meditation helps with emotional regulation. It essentially makes your brain more resilient to stressful events. You don't react as intensely.
Okay, so you still experience stress, but maybe it doesn't derail you as much.
Something like that. And studies show it can even improve stress biomarkers, like actual measurable things in your body, like cortisol levels.
That's fascinating. Actual physical changes.
And that Harvard study they mentioned is quite provocative. It suggested meditation might have a longer-lasting effect on reducing stress than taking a vacation.
Longer than a vacation. Seriously.
Yeah. The idea being, vacation glow wears off, stress often comes right back, but meditation builds resilience over time.
Wow. Okay. That puts a different perspective on things. And even short bursts help, right? The Headspace study.
Right. That pilot study showed a 14% drop in stress after just 10 days of using the app. So even small, consistent efforts seem to make a difference.
10 days for a noticeable drop. That's pretty accessible.
Definitely. And when people are less stressed, more focused, guess what else goes up?
Engagement.
You got it. Employee engagement. The NIH article links higher engagement directly to better business outcomes.
Yeah, they had stats on that too, didn't they? Like higher stock value, less turnover.
Exactly. Highly engaged organizations had 65% higher stock value, 26% less turnover, 20% less absenteeism. And another Gallup survey showed 21% more productivity in highly engaged teams.
So it all loops back. Less stress, better focus, maybe better sleep, leads to more engagement, which leads to higher productivity.
It's all interconnected, and mindfulness seems to foster that positive cycle. The article notes it helps improve coworker relationships, lowers stress, increases emotional balance, positivity, all things that boost engagement.
Makes sense. You feel better, you connect better, you work better.
And they mentioned that study with nurses using Headspace for 30 days. They showed significant improvements in job satisfaction.
Yeah, that's another good real-world example. Feeling better about your job naturally makes you more engaged.
For sure. Okay, so let's switch gears slightly and bring in the knowledge at Wharton piece. It adds another dimension, how mindfulness helps us deal with the modern workplace, uncertainty, constant change, digital overload.
Ah, right. Navigating the chaos, basically.
Pretty much. The idea is that this ancient practice, mindfulness, is actually super relevant for the digital age challenges. Information overload, constant pings and notifications.
Yeah, the battle for attention.
Exactly. And Wharton defines mindfulness simply as being present, right here, right now, without judgment. This allows you to act consciously, thoughtfully.
Instead of just reacting.
Yeah.
Like on autopilot.
Precisely. You create a little space between the trigger and your response. For you, listening, that means more control over how you handle things at work.
That pause sounds incredibly useful,
Yeah.
especially when things are hectic.
It really is. And Wharton lists benefits for individuals: better reflection, sharper focus, stress management, even recharging faster. But also for the organization, fewer sick days, more trust in leaders, higher engagement overall.
So again, individual benefits scaling up to the whole company. It's interesting how consistent that theme is.
It is. And they noted the huge spike in Google searches for mindfulness over the last decade or so. It shows this isn't niche anymore, it's mainstream.
People are definitely looking for solutions.
And Wharton suggests mindfulness helps tackle specific barriers to being agile, like, resisting change or getting stuck in "this is how we've always done it" thinking.
Ah, the past expertise trap.
Right. Being more present, less attached to old ways, makes you more open to new ideas, better able to adapt.
So it cultivates mental flexibility, which you definitely need today.
Exactly. It strengthens your ability to handle change, ambiguity, helps you learn faster, become more mentally agile. The article references the book Altered Traits
Okay.
and highlights 3 key benefits from it.
Mm.
1, staying calm and open-minded, partly by reducing activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear center.
Less fight or flight activation.
Right. 2, improved cognitive function, things like short-term memory, handling complex tasks, even creative thinking.
Wow, okay. Cognitive boost too.
And 3, enhanced focus and clarity, again, by reducing that mental wandering we talked about earlier.
So calmer, smarter, more focused. Sounds like a good combination for work.
Doesn't it? No wonder so many companies are getting on board.
Yeah, the Wharton article listed quite a few, didn't it? They mentioned pioneers first, like John Kabat-Zinn.
With mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, and Chade-Meng Tan at Google with Search Inside Yourself.
Right, they really paved the way. But the list of companies using it now is impressive. Etna, Bosch, General Mills, Goldman Sachs.
Intel, SAP, Target.
Mm.
Even government bodies like the UK Parliament, US House of Representatives. It's across all sectors.
That broad adoption says a lot, and prominent CEOs are practicing it too.
Yeah, they named Mark Benioff at Salesforce, Jack Dorsey, formerly Twitter, Google's Sergey Brin. It signals value from the very top. Apparently, starting the day with meditation is pretty common in Silicon Valley now.
So it's becoming embedded in the culture of these innovative places.
It seems so. And they gave specific examples, like Bosch using mindfulness to shift towards a culture of trust, less command and control.
Interesting application.
And SAP offering courses and guided meditations to thousands of employees globally. Plus, Etna's results we already mentioned: reduced stress, productivity gains, real-world impact.
So how do companies actually do this? What do the interventions look like?
Good question. Wharton outlines a few types. There's leadership training, focusing on mindful communication, decision-making.
Okay, training for the managers.
Right. Then there's broader meditation training for employees. There are also mindfulness micropractices.
Micropractices, like quick, small things.
Exactly. Short exercises you can weave into the day. And mindfulness coaching, more individualized support.
Can you give an example of a micropractice?
Sure. A common one is SNASTOP. It stands for stop what you're doing, take a breath, observe your thoughts, feelings, sensations, then proceed with intention.
Stop, take a breath, observe, proceed. Okay, that sounds really simple, something anyone could try.
Totally. Doesn't require sitting formally for 20 minutes. Just a brief pause to reset. Even Google's silent lunches could be seen as a kind of micro-practice environment.
Right, creating space for quiet reflection.
And they also mention how mindfulness improves teamwork. Things like mindful listening, really paying attention to colleagues without interrupting or judging.
Just listening to understand.
Yeah, and cultivating appreciation rather than just focusing on faults. These things can really shift team dynamics.
Okay, so pulling this all together, it's pretty clear from both sources. Mindfulness isn't just some fluffy concept.
Not at all. It's backed by science, adopted by major companies. It offers real benefits for productivity, stress, focus, sleep, engagement.
Both for you as an individual and for the organization as a whole.
Exactly. The core idea seems to be by being more present, less reactive, you can handle work demands more effectively with maybe a bit more ease.
So a final thought then for everyone listening.
Mhm.
What's maybe one tiny mindfulness practice you could try incorporating? Just one small thing.
Yeah, maybe just a few conscious breaths before your next meeting, or trying that S.P practice once today.
See what happens. Notice if it makes even a small difference to your focus or your sense of calm.
It's about experimenting, finding what works for you.
Absolutely. Well, that really covers a lot of ground. Fascinating stuff.
Definitely valuable insights there.
Okay, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. Welcome to the weekly Deep Dive podcast. We explore inner peace, mindfulness, self-love, and personal development to help you embrace your authentic self. If you want to implement mindfulness in your organization, schedule a free discovery call at truefulfillment.us. Visit truefulfillment.us for more insights. Like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Thanks for listening.